school till Monday. It's Friday. There's no more school till Monday. It's Friday. Oh no.
No school for 2 days. Yay! Come on, Geranium. Come on.
No, look what you did. You got me.
Well, you're on my way. Come on. It's time to teeter-totter.
Poor Bill.
Come on, Geranium.
When things start happening, just start rapping and you find if you can boogie, you still can cope. If you can boogie, you got geranium. What are you doing on there? It's Friday. Friday is my turn.
What? What?
Yeah, remember we discussed that last week? I said you could have Thursdays and I could have Fridays and
You
every
have
other
been
day.
talking to
Okay, enough of this conflict resolution. Off that thing or I pulverize you right now.
Mommy,
Right
you
now.
can't
Kisser,
do
I'll just
that.
zap you. I don't know, we're all torn, Bill.
Can I
Oh,
help you with
guess
this?
I can think. Okay.
Here, I'll just pick these up for you, ma'am. Oh, boy, they're all over the place here. Okay. Here you go, ma'am. There you are. Are you okay,
I'm not
ma'am?
picking up dust.
You know, you don't look so good. One, look.
Geranium. Here you guys, we better
What?
talk this over.
Okay. Yeah.
Out of the mouths of babes, as they say, we're going to help teachers find the way to overcome worry and frustration. It helps to see the whole growth, birth, and gestation of the new concept of special education. It helps to see the whole growth, birth, and gestation of the new concept of special education. Much of what we're going to say is downright new, but this is what it's gonna do. Gonna turn education right around, so better ways of teaching can be found. Gonna see the whole growth, birth, and gestation of the new concept of special education. We're gonna do a little overview so you can see the new things to do. Remember, it's the kids who are gonna benefit. You gotta see the whole. That's it. You gotta see the whole growth, birth, and gestation of the new concept of special education. In the beginning there was nothing. And even less than nothing for those of us who were different. But then, at long last, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed, stating, "No person in the United States shall, on the grounds of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or otherwise be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance from the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare." The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Section 504, served as the impetus for many other anti-discrimination and equal access and opportunity laws, including the Education of All Handicapped Children Act of 1975, often referred to by its nickname, PL 94142. In brief, these laws mandate a free, appropriate public education for all handicapped children and youth. The law guarantees due process to all handicapped children and youth and their parents with regard to number one.
Could you give me my cue again, please?
The law guarantees due process to all handicapped children and youth and their parents with regard to number 1,
Identification.
that's finding the kids who may have a disability.
Number 2, evaluation.
That's getting a real good understanding of how the kids do in regular education.
Number 3, placement.
That's giving the kid who really, truly, absolutely, positively does have a disability an individual education program. Now, the Minnesota State Department of Education has developed a process for identifying, evaluating, and placing students, which consists of 5 stages. Geranium, my book bag, please. The 5 stages, which fill the PL 94142 mandates for due process, are number 1, the intervention stage. Number 2, the referral stage. Number 3, the assessment determination stage. Number 4, the assessment stage. And number 5, the individual education program, or IEP stage. Geranium, let's chat. Come here. Now, I have painstakingly completed a brilliant task analysis which takes into account a variety of learning styles accommodated for in the least restrictive environment. Now, reading is not my strong suit. In fact, I am learning disabled. That means that my present performance compared to expected potential and later substantiated by assessment against established eligibility criteria, coupled with my tendency toward inappropriate emotional outbursts, has merited me status as a special education student. Nevertheless, it appears to me that you have hung my IEP stage label upside down. This makes it inaccessible to most of the teachers in our television viewing audience, unless those teachers are willing and able to stand on their heads to read that little upside-down label. We could be in violation of their right to an appropriate education. Let's rectify the situation immediately, all right, Jerry? And make sure it doesn't happen in the future. Okay, Jerry? Okay? Good. Okay, now then, Torville, why don't you just proceed with your explanation of the first 2 stages, the intervention stage and the referral stage.
The intervention and referral stages are part of regular
Wait, stop, Torville. Why the mustache?
Oh, I thought looking like Bernie Daly, St. Paul's Director of Special Education, would give me greater credibility.
Bernie Daly doesn't have a mustache.
Right. But if he did, he might look just like this. Who's to say he wouldn't? That's why this is the perfect Bernie Daly disguise.
Okay, Torville. It's obviously important to you. Wear it. Go ahead. Wear it.
As I was saying, the intervention stage and referral stage are part of regular education. When a regular education teacher sees that a student is having a very serious problem, the teacher does what are called interventions. The reg ed teacher designs interventions to be positive experiences that will hopefully resolve the particular problem that student is having. That will hopefully resolve the particular problem the student is having. Of course, the teacher should notify the student's parents that their child is having difficulties which require intervention.
Excuse me, Tori. Teachers may also need to be aware that while English may be spoken by the student, it may not be the primary language in the home. In that event, they need to bring along a school's ESL teacher or a member of the ESL team. Continue, Tori.
If no progress has been made after 2 interventions, the regular education teacher enters the referral stage. In the referral stage, the regular educator first contacts the student's parents to let them know the interventions were unsuccessful and a referral is being made. And second, goes to the principal for a referral form CS1.
Oh, excuse me, Tori. It is imperative to add at this point that the Minnesota State Department of Education, along with the St. Paul Public Schools, who have given some brilliant modifications, have developed forms to help teachers implement each of the 5 stages currently under discussion.
Thank you for that second interruption, Bwanda. Please do not interrupt me again, since my psyche is still reeling from your inability to fully appreciate my Bernie Daly disguise. I think yet another blow to my ever-so-fragile ego could push me right over the edge.
Oh, good grief.
Now, as I was saying, after 2 unsuccessful interventions, the teacher enters the referral stage. And number 1 consults the parents. Number 2 goes to the principal for Form CS1. Number 3 completes the form and returns it to the principal.
Okay, my turn now. I have natural leadership capabilities, so I should be the principal. Principal wears glasses, like these, just like these, and reviews the CS1 form. I may explore additional regular education-based options. Or I may give the form to the Child Study Committee. The Child Study Committee consists of the regular educator, the facilitator, and the special educator. Here, Geranium, you be the Child Study Committee.
Okay.
Catch.
The Child Study Committee reviews the CS1 referral form and decides if the student should be steamed. Should be steamed. Steamed? They can't steam children, can they? Are they allowed to steam children? What do they intend to do? Boil our little butts? This is an outrage! I may be white, rich, and able-bodied, but I've got my rights and nobody is going to steam me.
Screened, Geranium. The word is screened, not steamed.
Oh. Well, then that's different, isn't it?
Jeez. The line between regular and special education is oftentimes thinly drawn.
Okay, well then to continue. Once the Child Study Committee has the CS1 referral form, they must decide if the student should be screened, not steamed. If the answer is no, they return the form to the principal. If the answer is yes, the assessment determination stage begins. Bwanda?
In the assessment determination stage, the Child Study Committee determines if assessment is necessary.
Wait a minute, Wanda. You just defined assessment determination stage as determining if assessment is necessary. You can't do that.
Why not?
My language teacher, Miss Artspark, she says that you must never define an undefined word by using that undefined word. She says if you do, you'll never get into Harvard. And gee, my dad says if I don't get into Harvard, I'll be a bum in the streets, and all because you used an undefined word to define that undefined word. Bonnie, you must never do that again. My entire future depends on it. If I don't get into Harvard, then I'm in grad school.
Okay, Torville, here. You can borrow my Porta Stop and Think chair. You need a little break, kid. In the assessment determination stage, the Child Study Committee assigns its members to gather and review information on the student. This is called screening. During screening, the Child Study Committee may interview the parent or the student him or herself, look at achievement or curriculum test scores, observe the student in a regular education class, and look at the student's CUME file, and so on. Now, the assessment data determines if a student needs to be formally assessed. Assessment is when a student participates in very specific activities, tests, and observations designed to see if the student meets special education eligibility criteria. So, as you can see, Torville, assessment determination is determining through screening if assessment is necessary.
Oh, fine. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, the committee will screen the students in a variety of areas.
For example, early childhood students are screened in the areas of cognitive, motor, sensory, communication, social, emotional, self-help, health, physical abilities.
Specified areas for screening elementary and junior high students are academics, communication, vocational, sensory, health, physical, behavioral, social, emotional, motor, adaptive behavior, and intellectual ability.
For students 14 years or older are in the 9th grade, transition areas like jobs and job training, home living, leisure, recreation, community participation, post-secondary training, learning are also screened. Torville! Torville! Torville!
Oh, all right. When the screening is done, the Child Study Committee records its findings on the Assessment Determination Form, CS2. Then the committee decides if the child needs to be assessed. If the answer is yes, then the committee turns the and you know, after that they and then they do that other thing. God, there's so much, and then you do another after that, and you know it just never stops. And it, my shoes untied. Well, I'm kind of busy right now, Wanda. Why don't you do this next part?
Torville, it's your responsibility. It's your section. You should do it.
Well, Wanda, you know, this speech and those next speeches have a lot of new stuff in them. You know, like the assessment plan and page 3 of the CS2.
Okay, Torville.
Just-
Torville. Be a man. A woman. A person. Tell it like it is. They can take it. Remember, Torville, you are talking to teachers who, though highly underrated by society, possess more dedication, determination, and skill than most Americans. Go ahead, Torville. Tell it like it is. They can take it.
Right. Okay, well, where was I?
Over here, I think.
Oh, thanks. When the screening is done, the Child Study Committee records its findings in the Assessment Determination Plan, Form CS2. Then the committee decides if the child needs to be assessed. Well, if the answer is yes, the committee designs the student's assessment plan and figures out who's going to be on the assessment team. Noting on page 3 of the CS2, not only which assessments will be administered, but also special accommodations which may need to be made. Then the committee completes and sends Form DP1. Oh, the DP1 form informs the student's parents of the school's intent to conduct an educational assessment on their child.
On the DP1, parents can request more information, refuse approval, or grant approval for the student to be assessed. If the parent refuses approval, the school must begin the conciliation process. If approval is still not given, the school must move to a hearing. If approval is given, the assessment stage begins.
Two essential things happen in the assessment stage. First, the assessment team administers all the tests required to complete the student's assessment. This must be done within 30 school days after the receipt of the DP1. Remember, these results determine if a student meets eligibility criteria for a disability area. Second, the assessment team records the results on an assessment summary report, CS3A, or a specific learning disability team report, CS3B. Busy, busy, busy.
See, I told you.
No. If the student's assessment results do meet the eligibility criteria for a handicapping condition, the team and the student's parents agree upon a time, a date, and a place when to meet. A confirmation of this meeting is sent on a DP3 form. This form must be sent to the parents within 10 school days prior to the scheduled event. When the parents and the IEP team meet to design the IEP, they enter the fifth and final stage, the individual education program stage. That's the IEP you hear so much about. The IEP stage has 8 steps within it, which flow very nicely, one from the other. Before we plunge into an analysis of the 8 steps of the IEP stage, we're going to briefly review the material we've covered up to this point. The 5 stages of the process of identifying, evaluating, and placing students who may need special education are:
The intervention stage.
this is the stage when a regular education teacher sees that a student is having a problem and designs and implements 2 interventions, positive in nature, and designed to help the student overcome her or his problem. 2, the referral stage.
If the interventions aren't working and the teacher sees that a student absolutely, positively, no way, no how, any way you look at it, will never, ever in a million, billion, quadrillion years make it in regular education, the regular educator completes a CS1 form referring the student to the principal, who should consider many options before passing the CS1 to the Child Study Committee. The assessment determination stage.
The Child Study Committee reviews the CS1, and if they decide the student should be screened,
Not steamed.
they gather and study data to determine if the student needs to be assessed. Remember, assessment is testing to see if the student meets eligibility criteria for special education. All right.
The assessment stage.
If, in the assessment determination stage, the Child Study Committee determines the student should be assessed, the committee proceeds to administer the assessment, assuming, of course, the parents have given their approval on a DP1 form.
While the parents should be informed at each of the preceding stages, it is not until the assessment stage that formal parental approval is required.
Which brings us up to the 5th and final stage, the individual education program stage, which we will begin to discuss as soon as we administer this little multiple choice test, which should let us know if you've been paying any attention at all to what we've been trying to teach you.
Question number 1. When a student is being screened, school personnel are
A, gathering and reviewing data to determine if eligibility testing should be done.
B, boiling the student's little butt.
C, administering those specific tests used to determine special education eligibility.
Or D, at the local tavern, having a few. The answer is A, gathering and reviewing data to determine if eligibility testing should be done. If you answered correctly, give yourself 5 points. If you answered incorrectly, give yourself a severe reprimand.
Question number 2. Screening happens in the A, assessment determination stage,
B, the assessment stage.
C, referral stage,
D, intervention stage. The answer is A, the assessment determination stage. If you answered correctly, give yourself a pat on the back. If you answered incorrectly, write, "I'm not a total failure," on the blackboard 100 times.
Question number 3. No more than blank school days may elapse between the receipt of the signed DP1 and completion of the assessments.
A, 30,
B, 15.
C, 45.
D, none. Assessment must be completed instantaneously. The answer is A, 30 school days. If you answered correctly, give yourself 5 points. If you answered incorrectly, give yourself 1 point. All right, then. Everyone, total your scores on a postcard and send them to 360 Colborne through the school mail. That way they'll never get it. If, by some unimaginable chance, they do receive it, your scores will be assessed within 20 school days. Those of you needing special education services can expect to have your parents notified on a PP2 form. Now, on to our dissection of the individual education program stage. Tori!
The focus of this stage is the IEP team meeting. At the IEP team meeting, school staff and parents pull their data, express their concerns, and under the leadership of the IEP manager or facilitator, design an effective educational program for the students. The IEP form is new and longer, and you don't have to fill it out at the IEP team meeting. You know, in fact, it's probably better if you don't, because the focus of the meeting should be on gathering data and creating a plan, not on completing paperwork.
What now, Torville?
My shoes. Well, Wanda, I'm really sorry, but this part has a lot of new stuff also, and change, well, new things in general, especially those that make what seems to be more work for me. Well, they kind of, they kind of sort of.
Scare you? Make you afraid, Torville? Terrify you?
Yes. I'd say that's a very apt description of my emotional state at this time.
Oh, well, Torville, I understand that. And you know what? So does the Unique Learners section of the Minnesota Department of Education and the St. Paul Public Schools. And they are doing, and will continue to do, stuff. Although just what stuff, we're not quite sure, to help. It's okay, Tori. Really. So, proceed. Carry on.
Well, the new, longer, really thick IEP form can be used to guide discussion at the IEP team meeting, because following the form with its steps that flow so nicely from one to the other can lead to a truly focused educational plan that can ultimately result in greater educational achievement for the student. In fact, this new process could not only greatly improve special education, it could be the start of an advantageous alteration in the whole of regular education, higher education, and the universe.
In the meantime, the IEP form guides the manager to number 1, state the present levels of educational performance. Number 2, state the student's special education needs based on number 1, the present levels of educational performance. Number 3, Set at least one annual goal for each special ed need identified in 2. Number 4, write measurable objectives for each goal identified in 3. Number 5, determine the type of special education services needed to accomplish the objectives stated in 4. Number 6, set the time needed per week to provide the services identified in 5, which help the student to meet the objectives identified in 4, that help accomplish the goals set in 3, that meet each special ed need identified in 2, that addresses the present level of educational performance levels of the student as stated in number 1. Wow!
Oh, wait. That's not all. And this is new. The principle of least restrictive environment also applies in placement and programming decisions. And opportunities to participate in regular education activities must be described for kids in special ed more than 50% of the time.
Wow. Once the IEP form is completed, the parents receive a yellow copy of the form along with a DP4. The DP4 allows the parents to request a private conference to discuss the IEP, to refuse approval to implement the services described in the IEP, or to give approval to implement the IEP. Parents almost always approve the plan, and once approval is received, special education services begin. If, however, the parent objects in writing to any part of the plan, the conciliation process begins regarding the areas of objection.
Well, by the way, it's very highly important to note that IEPs are written for 1 year or less.
But they are not written and forgotten. Each special education service provider reviews progress being made toward achieving the measurable objectives.
Every year, a new IEP team meeting is held for each student. Current information on the student's present level of educational performance is shared with the parents. Special education needs are discussed, and a new IEP form is completed, reflecting the updated information.
And every 3 years, the IEP team repeats the entire evaluation and placement process, beginning, and this is new, with the assessment determination stage.
So, there you have it. The entire process of identification, evaluation, and placement of special ed students as practiced by the St. Paul Public Schools and presented to you by us. Out of the mouths of babes, as they say, we're going to see the teachers find a way to overcome worry and frustration and help us to see the whole growth, birth, and gestation of the new concepts of special education. It helps us see the whole growth, birth, and gestation of the new concepts of special education. Now we've done this overview to help you see the new things to do.
Remember, it's the kids who are going to benefit.
Now you see the whole. That's it.
It helps see the whole growth, birth, and gestation of the new concepts of special education.
Remember, it's the kids who are going to benefit.
Now you see the whole. That's it.